Hey all, here OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at the JLab Open Sport. These are a pair of pretty unique TWS wireless buds which happen to be an open ear design, a little similar to bone conduction tech, but in this case it still is using a traditional driver, albeit just like those bone conduction headphones, it's trying to give you spatial awareness. Although it may not be for everyone's cup of tea, especially if you are a frequent traveler that's looking just for noise isolation and you want something like active noise cancellation on your buds, this is almost the opposite of that, but it still is a very neat idea, especially for a certain crowd that is looking for, again, that audio transparency, and designs like this are still very rare, so you don't have quite as much options to pick from. Now these models sell for under $80, so it's also not that bad considering how novel they are in terms of their design. So the actual sports buds, they can also be detached completely from the hooks, and they even come with an optional adapter that you can use to pop onto glasses. So it's a really neat kind of modular design that they're going after, including a battery case that also acts as the charging dock, and also has two built-in EQ settings which you can tweak between, despite not necessarily connecting to a companion app per se, and they have large 14mm drivers. Overall, the entire thing has over 24 hours of battery life, 6 to 7 hours of continuous music playback. So inside of this box, which is again done in a very vibrant blue, it just says your kind of tech, we'll have access to a nice extra protective carrying case, which is also having a blue accent on the zipper, pretty nice, along with just a quick user guide. We also have a blue accented USB Type-C charging cable, so definitely showing quite a bit of attention to detail with all the color scheme here going on, and of course the actual Open Sport buds themselves, which again, it's very easy to pop in and pop out of the charging case here. Nothing is really technically covered up, which is why they get you this extra case. But everything else here is just made out of a polycarbonate plastic with some rubber accents for the hooks, and then located on the back is the two adapters which you can use to pop it onto the glasses optionally, so it will just pop in and pop out as so. On the very bottom here, just a simple USB Type-C charging cable. Just like regular wireless buds, they're held into place magnetically using the Pogo contacts, so they can easily charge and they won't fall loose. Taking a closer look at the design here, there are two small LED lights which will also glow when the buds are charging in the case. Otherwise, when we pop out the buds, they will automatically turn on and start to pair. Another LED light there on the side will tell you their status. And if we turn it around, you can also tell that this is where the speakers or the drivers are coming out from. So they are still being emitted, albeit it's relatively flat and of course doesn't rest all the way inside of your ear canals. We do have just one microphone there at the bottom when you're having phone calls or conferences, for instance, and otherwise, again, the hook here is pretty stiff, but as a whole it feels comfortable in my testing so far. I was able to wear it at least for an hour or two without noticing too much stress or strain. You can push the hook backwards like so to release it from the mechanism, and then instead attach the adapter for the glasses instead. Now I will also mention that the touch control pad on the front, it is pretty responsive, and in terms of commands, luckily you are able to do pretty much everything directly on the buds, which is much appreciated. That includes volume controls for tapping once to raise it higher or lower, which is awesome, the typical skip track and play pause controls, as well as a triple tap to go between a signature versus a balanced EQ mode. And just as reference, here is what it looks like if you are popping in the optional adapter there for glasses. Just slide it in with a click. Afterwards, you can just attach it onto the side of your glasses just by applying a little bit of pressure, and it will just pop in there and stays actually quite tight in terms of the clip's design without really falling loose. You can further press it down, change the position, forward and back, depending on where your ears are located when you're wearing them, and actually fits and works pretty well. Moving to performance and audio quality, I will mention that these can be worn either in a mono mode or stereo mode, so you can actually use just one if you desire. And in terms of codecs, it is using just standard SBC and AAC supported, meaning that there is no, say, Qualcomm, aptX chip, or LDAC, anything crazy like that. But I think that overall makes sense because primarily the cost here is going into this unique design, and you don't really need necessarily the highest resolution Bluetooth transmission, since something like this will be more meant for casual music listening, for sports anyways. For sure, there's not going to be quite as much bass as something with more of a true fit and seal. That's always going to be a challenge with anything that really is resting just on the outside, but the larger 14mm drivers at least are trying to compensate, combined with the slightly more dynamic EQ mode from JLab. It does give you a little bit of a shake or kick, at least when you are listening to certain drum beats, though it's not going to be quite as powerful or resonant as if you had something that was giving you a slightly tighter seal. But that's pretty much the same thing said with all of the bone conduction headphones that we've reviewed in the past. So you'll still be able to enjoy some of that, but true bass heads might not be 100% satisfied. Instead, I would say the emphasis is more on mids and trebles, which it actually sounds quite good in terms of clarity and still having enough detail when it comes to typical pop music, EDM tracks to still sound quite pleasant. Anything which is energetic, it actually is quite loud, and surprisingly, it doesn't sound too thin or tinny either, even at higher volume levels. So when compared to Shokz or Aftershokz bone conduction headphones, I would say the sound here is actually very good. That still makes you feel motivated to continue moving and performing exercise. They never really got disconnected from my phone either, which was good. Alright, so that is more or less it as far as our quick hands-on review of the new JLab Open Sport. This has a very clever design along with good enough sound that will still keep you enjoyed and immersed in the music and also aware of what's going on at the same time. And I think for that, it's actually quite successful, especially keeping in mind the relatively affordable price that these are going for. You can check out more details if interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.